Welcome to Machine Shop Tech Talk, or welcome back to Machine Shop Tech Talk. If it is your first time here, we interview world leaders that are thriving in the industry so that we can bring the secrets they have. Whether you have that problem today or in the future, you will know what to do with it. My guest today is Rob Kalwarowsky, a fellow Canadian, and I'm grateful to have him here. Rob Kalwarowsky is a world-renowned executive coach, and he's author of Capitalizing on Chaos and a keynote speaker specializing in leadership transformation through mindset shifts, power and influence strategies, and MIT-informed systems thinking. Rob's TED Talk is an international hit with over 300,000 views. Rob is known for his ability to impact his clients quickly, delivering massive results in as little as a few weeks while lasting for years. And I had an intro from my buddy Greg, so I knew I had to have you on because Greg's an amazing human too. Rob, I'm so glad you're here because I got some questions for you, man.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, Arthur. And for folks out there, I know, like, obviously this is a machine shop talk. And so I'm an engineer, a mechanical engineer by training, and I spent 10 years working in mining, oil and gas in Edmonton, across Canada, gold mines, diamond mines, the whole bit. So I absolutely understand where most of you are coming from. I've walked the floors, and I've been out there with you. So I'm not just an executive coach who lives in Costa Rica now.
No, it is a beautiful background. If you are watching us, because we're on video on YouTube and on Spotify, everywhere else it's audio, but it's a beautiful view you got back there, man. All the palm fronds and everything just blowing in the breeze. But so I like to dig right into kind of the questions that I have for you, because you've got a lot of experience. Like you said, you started on the shop floor and you have worked in the industry for a long time now, and you've grown to where you're advising companies worldwide. You're a TEDx speaker, which is not an easy thing to do. If people don't know, that's a long process. There's many interviews and performances and a lot of boxes you got to check before they'll let you step on the TEDx stage. Just in case people don't know the amount of time invested to make that happen. So with all of that and all your experience in coaching these companies and helping these companies grow, my question for you today that I'd like to have the conversation on, if you're game, is how do I know I have a bad boss? Or maybe I'm the problem. I don't know. You're the expert, and I'd like to dig into this. Kind of, what are your thoughts, man?
Absolutely. So there's a paper that I draw all of my leadership, well, at least the archetypes of bad bosses from, and it talks about the 6 types of destructive leaders. And so they define them in these types that they found over a period, was a couple years, and they did private sector, public sector. They found the same behavior across the board. Mm-hmm. And they classify leaders in these, well, it's actually 7 categories, but 65.1% of the workforce experiences what's known as a destructive leader. Now, naturally, what's the question? What's a destructive leader? Well, you're at fault for everything. Luckily, there's only about 5.5% of the workforce experiences a leader like this. What's far more...
That's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. What's far more common, which is also kind of scary, is 19.7% of the workforce experiences one that's slightly different. They're called the abusive narcissistic boss. This is slightly different. I would liken it more to like Leonardo DiCaprio's role on Wolf of Wall Street. It's all about me. I take all the credit for myself. I deflect blame on everybody else. I'm using threats and punishments to get my way, right? It's very much me focused. And actually these folks, they do extremely well in corporate environments, and they do rise to the top. We won't comment on politics, but...
Yeah.
Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, so those are known as like actively destructive leaders. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have passively destructive leaders. So they're not necessarily out to get you in this way that's like in your face and like abusive. They're just destructive in a way that's like completely the opposite. And so one of them is called the cowardly boss or ghost manager. These ones, they don't want any authority. They don't want to take any responsibility. They deflect all questions. They're like, I always talk about like George Costanza where he sleeps under his desk, right? And it's like, hey, Rob, I have a question about, what should we do here? And they're like, well, that's upper management's decision. Or it's, I hired a great team. Why don't you do it? You figure it out, right? The next level, similar to that, is called a messy boss. And it's not that they won't accept responsibility or accountability. It's just they flip-flop on decisions. They don't have a focused plan. They tell people to do one thing, and then the next day they tell them to do the opposite. I had a boss like this. Often they're people pleasers, or they're just unsure. Maybe they have a little imposter syndrome, so they're not quite confident. And so they're just like asking people for advice and then changing their mind all the time. And their team is in chaos. And then the final...
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've experienced the last two that you were talking about, the cowardly especially, where it's like, it's not that they won't take accountability. It's just that they never seem to have any power in the company. So why are they even in management? It's like they won't put their neck on the line. Yeah.
I think that's risen in the last few years. And I suspect because there's a lot of the turnover and layoffs. And I suspect it's people are afraid that if they make a decision and it goes bad, then their role's on the line.
Yeah.
I don't have any data to back that up. It's just what I've seen from the folks I work with.
Anecdotally, I would also say I've seen a rise in that type, working with like from the distributor sales side and now to traveling with MTD CNC. Not the shops I visit with MTD and CNC. I don't want the people I visited watching this thinking that I'm talking about them. I'm not. You guys are all exemplars. I wish there was more shops like
Bob.
you. But I've just, yeah. Bob from Watchon's a nice guy. Be nice. No, but yeah, it's just I've seen that more, especially in the distributor sales side, where guys, even a $10,000 PO, they're like, I don't want to make that call. Well, what do you mean? Like, we're going to save you $100,000. Yeah, I don't want, but if we don't, then I got to answer on why I spent $10,000. And like, there's not a big problem right now. So I don't want to risk my neck.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, I don't want to derail your whole conversation, but I've seen a rise as well. In that.
Oh, that's totally a thing. And then the last two, they're the combination types. So there's the passive aggressive boss. This is very much for folks. I mean, most of you should be old enough, but Bill Lumbergh from Office Space, when he's talking about the TPS reports, it's like, did you read the memo? Oh, I'll send you the memo again, right? It's very much sarcastic. It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
It's, I'll say one thing to your face and then behind your back, I'll talk shit, right? Those kind of things. And then the final one is the passive egocentric. And I've had bosses like this, and I'm sure you have as well, where it's like, hey, we did this team project when he's in front of the team. And then it's like when they're presenting to upper management, it's like, I led this team project and I got all these results. Right. And I had a boss who took one of my reports, just put his name instead of mine and then handed it up the chain.
Yeah. I've definitely had both of those experiences. And I'll tell you what, I did not work for those people very long. I'm all about saying we as a team, even if it was certain people only in the team, 100%, I don't care, because maybe the next project, Bill over there will contribute more than I did, but we're still a team together. We still can work on this together. But the moment one person tries to stand up and put their name on it, when often they're not even contributing to the effort, they're just the one presenting it to the people above them. Those aren't people I like to work for or with, period. I fired customers like that on the distributor side as well. And it's not like an egocentric thing. It's just like, to me, it feels like you're not giving credit where it's do. Like you're trying to claim the results others generated to ingratiate yourself to the people you're presenting to make yourself look better than you are.
That's right.
Present it as a team. But something there, Rob, I love that you broke down the types for us. I think that's hugely valuable. And I'm sure we've got lots of people just like nodding along like, oh man, kind of like I jumped in where, you know, they can throw it in the comments. Please do. Like, have you had bosses like this? Because I don't think that I'm alone, or Rob, you're alone. I mean, you clearly had, I know I read a little bit of the intro to your book, and you've got that story about Zeke, like right in the intro, man. Like I've had a boss like Zeke too.
The
like,
ultimate micromanager.
yeah, where everything's wrong until it's done exactly the way they want. So they just kind of take over and do it for you, and then tell you to put your name on it so they can email it. Yeah. Yeah. But something else I'm thinking is really, I don't think, like when you say leader, now for me, I think anyone in the shop could be a leader, right? Like I'm not just thinking on your title, you are the shop floor manager, now you're a leader. But I mean, anyone on the shop floor or anyone in the company could be considered a leader in any area depending on the project.
That's right.
So for all of you that were nodding along with us, maybe remember to have a look in the mirror to see if you're doing any of this. Is it like, is all hope lost if we're doing any of these, Rob? Or what do you think? Like, is there hope for people in these categories?
All 6 of these parts are ones that we all have. And so there are moments in our life where we have that arrogant and violent part. Now, we may have learned enough self-control to be like, well, I shouldn't hit Arthur because he like we're in the machine shop together. But it's like in your brain, you're like, you're punishing yourself, or you're yelling at yourself, or you're thinking about it, right? Or like when that guy cuts you off in traffic and flips you the bird, you're like, you know, you get really mad, right? Like this is normal, right? So we all have these things, and it's not about shame or blame, right? None of this is completely normal. This is how we get through the world. The first step is awareness. And so as I talk through those boss types, it's not necessarily you thinking about, have I yelled at my people in the last month? It can even be, do I have a voice inside my own mind that yells at me? Because I have one. I have multiple. And
Me too.
Yeah, and it's completely normal, right? It's, you're not working hard enough. You're not making enough money. You're not, you should be climbing Mount Everest. Well, did you see this post on Instagram? Your friend just raised $100 million to start their crypto fund. And what are you doing, right? Like, this is a normal experience for all of us. Now, the work and the long journey of this is working with those parts of you, those 6 destructive parts, and getting them to chill out so you can be the true leader. And that's when not only will you become a great leader at work for your team, but also at home with your husband, your wife, your kids, in your community, and your life will change. And I can say this because my life has completely changed. In the last 5 years, I went from suicidal to now I live in Costa Rica. I changed from an engineer who worked in pipelines to doing a TED Talk, to my books coming out, to coaching Olympic gold medalists and executives and entrepreneurs. And my inner experience has also transformed too.
I know you mentioned the Olympic gold medalist before. Can you say who? How do you even get involved with a medalist? Because it just seems so far out of like your realm.
Yeah, I mean, I was working for a coaching company that the founder was used to play professional hockey, and so she knew some of the Hockey Canada women, and then I worked with a few of them.
That is so, it goes to show, right? Like, regardless to people, if you're listening or watching right now, whatever, you might be, even if you ended up here and you're from food or some other industry outside of manufacturing or maintenance, or you're not an executive, this can still apply because we're all human beings. And I really love what you pointed to. It's not about shame. It's not about blame. It's not about placing guilt, because we're human beings. We're all experts in doing that to ourselves. But it's about having that recognition. So
Oh yeah, and
people
it's
have the
like,
recognition.
Arthur, when I'm
sorry.
working with them, I'm not talking about the power play or
Yeah.
I don't know anything about hockey other than I've watched it on TV forever, right? They're the expert in hockey. I am the
Yeah.
expert in psychology and in how to lead a team. And so it's not, and it's similar with my CEOs. Like, of course, I know, high performance leadership strategies and that kind of thing. But it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not telling, these folks in telecom how to figure out their 6G internet. Like, that's their job, right?
Yeah, you're there to help them manage themselves and their team better and show up as better humans for their companies.
And that's the key, is when we're led by these destructive leadership parts in our own mind.
Yeah.
It's called an amygdala hijack. And this term was coined by Daniel Goleman in his book Emotional Intelligence. And it's literally the fight and flight response. Although if you truly dig into it, it's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. But that's what happens is when we're under stress, when we have chaos that's happening around us, our animalistic part of our brain, the amygdala, says, I'm going to protect you. And it shuts down your frontal lobe. So you can't think, you can't problem solve, you can't have logic, you can't have creativity, you can't have innovation, you can't have anything. And that's when those 6 parts take over.
That makes a lot of sense, right? With the amygdala, would you say hijacking or whatever?
Yes.
Because I can think back, because I've done different like personal growth and development training, but really it was always just that awareness in different moments that would start to creep in, where I didn't see a choice before, I now saw options instead of like that. I would only realize I made a choice like reflecting back, like, how the fuck did that happen? Oh wow. And then you go clean it up, because usually it's a terrible thing you've done, because usually those default behaviors in the past anyway haven't really served me very well or the people around me. They've been a little destructive, just a little destructive.
But it's totally normal, right? And here's one thing that I also talk about, right, is each of these parts of us, they're their own version of a hammer. All they know is how to hit a nail in a certain way. So the arrogant and violent one, all it knows is arrogant and violence. The ghost one, all it knows is running away and hiding, right?
Yeah.
And so it's exactly what you said, Arthur, we don't have choice in those moments where they take over. They just are like, hey, your boss came in and said, your budget's cut, and you're going, I'm going to run away.
I mean, you mentioned budget cutting. It sucks for everyone. I've experienced a lot of that working with my clients this last year since the regime change down in the USA, because a lot of them have lost their marketing budgets. So plans we had in place either got reduced or completely freaking canceled for the year because they can't get any funding. So it's funny that you mentioned, because that's very much a situation where what the hell are you going to do? Yeah. But I mean, it is, because there's a lot of stuff people, and I would argue it's not the right stuff to cut. Marketing or coaching, I think, are needed more in downtimes than less. I think there should be more of it in those times. But yeah, this is such a great conversation. So as we're wrapping up here, Rob, I mean, we talked about recognition, and that's hugely valued. You've already done the nice work of laying out the 6 types, right? Like the hybrid, all the way down to the hybrid types. But let's say people have recognition now after listening to you share. What's a good next step, or what are a couple next steps they could take if they want to learn more, or if they want to start taking action towards this? I mean, do you have a newsletter, like anything like that? Like what can they do?
You find that calmness when you're in these moments where you're, you know, worried about getting fired, or like I have a client, he's in the manufacturing space, and it's like he was talking to me the other day and he's like, you know, what do I do when the cost of doing business, like getting my supplies so I can build stuff, has gone up by 50%? And it's like, we got to get back to where we can think. And so you're welcome to just send me an email and I will give you that for free. And yeah, happy to help.
Man, I love those generous offers. And to anyone, especially if you're driving and listening to us right now, the links will be down below the episode. You don't have to worry about trying to do something illegal and write this stuff down. We'll put the links down
or spelling
below,
my last name
that Rob mentioned. Yeah. It's a mouthful, but hey, I tell you what, it's not like a John Smith situation where you're going to Google it and there's going to be 8 million of you. So
that's right. I am the only one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for being here, for sharing everything. Look, let's face it. In this episode, if you've made it this far, you're still listening to Rob and I, you liked this conversation. I would love if you considered giving a like, dropping a comment to say, what had you stay this long into the episode? I would love to know, because only about 20% of you make it this far. And I would love to know what keeps you here, what drew you in, and what's going to have you come back and have you click that subscribe button. Love seeing the channel grow, because we're here on this channel to do interviews with world leaders like Rob to bring you solutions and different pathways, because I know you're committed to being the best version of yourself in the world of manufacturing. And to all of my machining friends, thank you so much. Keep your spindles turning and earning.